Food prices aren't getting any cheaper, so lately I've been focusing on making the most of what we already have. In today's video, I'm sharing a few simple ways we're stretching our grocery budget through intentional homemaking, from baking with fresh ground flour and using one whole chicken for multiple meals, to shopping our pantry, reducing food waste, and making homemade staples that help us spend less over time. If you're looking for practical ways to feed your family well without constantly running to the grocery store, I hope this video gives you a few ideas you can use in your own home. One thing I've learned from feeding a family of 7 is that the little things really add up. Between rising food costs and keeping everyone fed, I'm always looking for ways to make the most of what we already have. This morning, we're starting with a simple strawberry cobbler made with fresh ground flour and strawberries from the freezer. Alongside that, I'm cooking up some quality breakfast sausage to add a little extra protein and help keep everyone full longer. When you're feeding a large family, balanced meals go a long way toward preventing constant snacking throughout the day, which, let's face it, that definitely can drain your budget over time. One of the things I love about recipes like this is how flexible they are. You really don't have to follow them exactly. Today, I'm using strawberries from the freezer, but you could easily use peaches, blueberries, blackberries, apples, or whatever fruit you have on hand, or a fruit that your family definitely prefers. I try to work with what's in season, what's growing in the garden, or what we've preserved from a previous harvest. It's a simple way to keep meals affordable while making the most of the food you already have available. One thing that's helped us save money over the years is keeping a well-stocked freezer. Whenever fruit is in season or we find a good sale, I'll buy extra and freeze what we can't use right away. It takes a little effort up front, but it means we're able to enjoy things like strawberries months later without paying out of season prices. And the same goes for produce from the garden. When harvest season comes, I try to preserve as much as possible so we can continue enjoying it long after it's finished producing. It's one of those small habits that helps spread the value of a harvest across the entire year. This year's strawberry harvest is nowhere near as good as last year's, and I have already bought some frozen strawberries here from Azure Standard and am utilizing them because of that. And I do plan on buying more if I see them go on sale. I did just buy more from Costco as well. It's just learning the seasons and what is in season to find things on sale to pad your pantry and be able to do things like this on a friendly budget. As you can hear, the kids are close by and helping throughout the day. Homemaking isn't always quiet or perfectly organized around here, but finding simple ways to feed our family well while staying within budget is something I'm always working towards. Whenever I can find whole chickens at a good price, I like to stock up because they're one of the most economical sources of protein for our family. This one is from Azure, and I bought a big box of them a few months back that we are still working our way through. Today, I'm going to spatchcock this chicken, which simply means removing the backbone so it lays flat and cooks more quickly and evenly. My one tip for doing this is make sure that you have really good kitchen shears because this can be very difficult for someone like myself who is not very strong in their hands from previous injuries. One thing I love about cooking whole chickens is how customizable they are. You can keep the seasoning simple if you want neutral meat to use in several different recipes throughout the week, or you can really load up on the herbs and spices to fit your family's taste. It all just depends on what you have on hand and how you plan to use the meat later. We are a household that absolutely loves flavor, so I usually just cake it all on at the beginning of it, and I can add extra as needed down the road if I'm reusing this. So on this day, I am just doing the normal salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, Italian seasoning blend, and then the poultry seasoning is what is my normal and that I did this day. And then just rubbing it in to make sure that it stays on the skin. Poppy. Yep. Another reason I prefer buying whole chickens is the value. Depending on the size of the bird and how I use it, I can usually get several meals out of one chicken for our family. Tonight we're having some of it for dinner. Next week you'll see another meal made from the leftovers, and then we'll still have broth from the bones. When I start looking at the cost per meal instead of the cost of the chicken itself, it becomes one of the most budget-friendly proteins we buy. One of the biggest ways we save money in the kitchen is by using as much of an ingredient as possible. The meat from this chicken won't just be for tonight's dinner. I'll be setting some aside for future meals, and I'm also saving the bones, skin, and the innards in the freezer for homemade bone broth. When you buy boneless, skinless chicken breast, you're paying for convenience, but you're also missing out on all the parts that can continue feeding your family. Those bones and scraps can become several quarts of nourishing broth, which can be used for soups, cooking grains, sauces, and so much more. Over time, those little savings really start to add up. To help stretch this meal, I'm of course going to make some delicious rice, and I'm going to be adding in some of the homemade chicken bouillon. You see that I paused there to see just how flavorful I wanted to make it, but since I was doing 4 cups of water, I did do 2 tablespoons of the homemade chicken bouillon, which I have shared with you guys previously, and I can link down below for you as well. And if you've never made homemade bone broth before, I will leave that video linked down below for you as well, where I walk you through my process step by step. And it's one of my favorite ways to stretch our grocery budget and make the most of ingredients we already have, as I've mentioned before. If you have been buying bone broth or even just chicken stock or vegetable stock, you know already just how expensive it can be. And I can't even imagine what that does to your grocery budget. I have not bought chicken stock or anything like that in quite a while, but I do see it at Costco and other grocery stores, of course, and it just blows my mind how expensive it is. And be sure to come back next week because I'll be showing you exactly how I use the rest of this chicken in another simple budget-friendly meal. It's a great example of how one whole chicken can continue feeding a family well beyond a single dinner. With the weather warming up, I've been reaching for iced coffee much more often than my usual hot cup in the morning. Instead of buying cold brew or stopping for coffee while I'm out, I've been making it at home. Cold brew does take a little bit of planning ahead since it needs time to steep, but the actual process is incredibly simple. For this batch, I'm adding about 1 pound of ground coffee to a gallon-sized jar. Then I fill the jar with filtered water, give it a good stir, and top it off with a little more water if needed. Once it's mixed, I place it in the refrigerator and let it steep for about 24 to 48 hours. When it's ready, I strain it through a mesh strainer lined with cheesecloth. This part takes a little patience, but it's worth it for smooth cold brew concentrate. After straining, I store it in the refrigerator and try to use it within about 5 days if it lasts that long in my home. And this is one of those small homemaking tasks that saves money over time. Just like meal planning or baking from scratch, it requires a little forethought, but the payoff is having something convenient already prepared when you want it. Later in this video, I'll be using some of this ice cold brew to make a simple homemade iced coffee with a coffee creamer I've been experimenting with. It's been a great way to save money. Another way is a long hallway, and that is planting what you know your family will eat. This little orchard of ours is savings in the making, just going to be a few years. Kids said that these were the most delicious, and so they wanted to pick more. One of my favorite ways to reduce food waste and stretch our grocery budget is by creating meals from leftovers that are already in the refrigerator. This farmer skillet is a perfect example of that. I could have used the leftover chicken for this meal, but I didn't want my family to get chickened out, so to speak. So I went ahead and just browned up a quick 1 pound of ground beef and pork mixture that I had gotten already. For the crust, I'm using the sourdough discard. It's definitely an easy way to put something that might otherwise be thrown away to good use while adding extra flavor to this dish. And I love meals like this because they're incredibly flexible. There isn't really a right or wrong way to make them. You can swap ingredients based on what needs to be used up and what's in season or what your family enjoys eating. Every version ends up a little different, which helps keep leftovers from feeling really repetitive. Before I make my grocery list each week, I try to look through my refrigerator and my pantry first. It's easy to focus on what we need to buy, but often there's enough food already on hand to create another meal or two. Learning how to change recipes to fit what you have is a skill that we all should be learning and leaning into so much right now. Meals like this help reduce food waste because leftovers don't have to stay leftover. A little rice, some vegetables, extra gravy, or bits of meat can all be transformed into something completely different. Sometimes those clean out the fridge meals end up becoming family favorites. And so on this day, I am using leftover rice, vegetables that need to be used up, and the chicken gravy from the spatchcock chicken that I made earlier. Instead of letting these odds and ends get pushed to the back of the fridge, they become the foundation for an entirely new meal today. Using what we already have before buying more has probably been one of the biggest shifts in our homemaking over the years, and it's made a noticeable difference in our grocery budget. This type of cooking has become one of the biggest ways we save money in our kitchen. Before heading to the grocery store, I try to look at what we already have and ask myself what meal I can create from it first. If you'd like the recipe for this farmer skillet, I'll leave the cookbook linked below, where you can find this recipe along with many other practical ways to use pantry staples, sourdough discard, and everyday ingredients. I have learned a lot from this cookbook and highly recommend it for anyone starting out or even somebody who is a seasoned homemaker. Not every budget-friendly meal has to be made completely from scratch. Sometimes it's just about using the items you already have on hand and making sure your pantry stays rotated. For this meal, I'm keeping things simple with fettuccine pasta and canned shrimp. I recently picked up the shrimp during a grocery haul and wanted to give it a try before deciding whether it's something we're stocking up on. One of the most important parts of building a practical pantry is making sure your family will actually eat the foods you're storing. There's no sense filling shelves with items nobody enjoys. And thankfully, the shrimp was a hit with the family, so I'd call that a win. It's always nice when you find another shelf-stable protein option that everyone is happy to eat, especially when you're trying to build a pantry that works for your family's real-life preferences. Quick meals like this that are quick and easy and perfect for busy days when you don't want to spend hours in the kitchen. They also provide a great opportunity to rotate through your pantry items, learn what your family likes, and build confidence using what you already have before buying more. Sometimes intentional homemaking isn't about making everything from scratch. It's about thoughtfully using what you have and making the most of the food you've already purchased. So with this meal, I'm also going to be using those cherry tomatoes that you saw, and I will be serving all of this alongside some fresh ground flour bread rolls. That's a mouthful that I made earlier in the day. and it'll help stretch the meal a little further while making it more filling for my family. And I don't feel bad about using bread as a filler because I'm using that fresh ground flour that is going to have a lot of the amino acids and other nutrients my children desperately need while growing. Got my husband's, and then my daughter wanted peanut butter on her bread. My toddler will have a little sampling, and then this is how my older boys like this. And as for me, I'm not sure what I'm eating yet because I'm trying to do keto, or not necessarily keto, but gluten-free for sure. I'm not going to eat this. I'm probably going to have some variation in what's left over in the fridge and just make that concoction. So if you've been following it, you know that I'm trying to be gluten-free and try to do keto best I can with all these children. It's just not easy. If you know, you know. What are you doing? So yeah, this was just a really simple throw together what I already have in the pantry type dinner. Took maybe 20 minutes. Most of that was pasta time. Whoop, I don't even have it over there anymore. Most of that was pasta time, and then opening cans because I had shrimp in the pantry. So, and that's what padding the pantry is about. It's for inflation. So inflation, and also quick and easy. And then if you have hard times of losing a job or something, then you have stuff readily available and you don't have to necessarily worry. Emergency happens. You don't have to go out and set emergency snowstorm, rainstorm, tornado warning, anything like that. You're comfortable at home for a while. So stock your pantry little bit by little bit. Do the best that you can. If you need help, I'm happy to help you. Let me know in the comments, how is your pantry doing? How is your home looking right now? If an emergency happened or inflation skyrocketed tomorrow, would you be able to last 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month, a year without worrying about the grocery store? Let me know down below. Today, I'm going to be making my own coffee creamer, and this is one of those small changes that I'm hoping can save us a lot of money over time. For this batch, I'm using 1 can of sweetened condensed milk, some whole milk, a splash of heavy whipping cream to thin it out, and a little homemade vanilla extract. You could easily substitute half and half if that's what you have on hand. And one of the reasons I wanted to try making my own just like this is because so many store-bought creamers contain ingredients I'd rather avoid, including things like natural flavors and other additives. Making it myself, I know exactly what's going into it. And just like many of the meals in this video, this recipe is flexible and easy to adapt based on what you already have in your kitchen. This. So good. Don't know why I'm buying it from the store. No more. Make it. I hope this video gave you a few practical ideas for stretching your grocery budget without sacrificing good food. Whether it's using one whole chicken for multiple meals, cooking from pantry staples, making homemade convenience foods, or simply finding creative ways to use leftovers, those small choices really can add up over time. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you're doing right now to save money on groceries or make the most of what you already have? Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.